Não está a aparecer aqui, está a ver? So, hi everyone, I am Liliana, and I'm one of the students of the first edition of AstroCamp, and now I am a PhD student in the University of Aveiro and Instituto de Telecomunicações, and I'm in physics engineering. So I will talk a little about optics, some basic concepts, and a little about my path from AstroCamp until now, until my PhD. So, I was a student in the first edition of AstroCamp. I was in my 11th grade at that time. It was my math teacher that told me about this activity, and she thought that I might find it interesting, and I did. So I applied, and it was really a good 2 weeks of my summertime in that year. So I don't know if you know about this, but in the first year we have like an exercise that would be to make a solar system in scale, by scale. And we are like, at that time I was not very aware of how different dimensions of the planets and the sun were. So it was only in that during that summer that I was like, oh, the summer is very big when compared to the Earth, because we were thinking, okay, we'll make the sun this big, and then the Earth, we were not able to make it because we had to make it by scale. So the Earth would be very, very, very small in that case. So we thought, I don't know, we came up with the idea to make the trail of the solar system. It would make sense that the last planet of the solar system would be in the corner, in the Corno de Bico, because it was there that we should see the Perseidas, and the sun would be in Ceia because was where we were living. And then we just calculated the dimensions and the distance between the sun and the planets, and it was that way that we made the solar system trail. At that time, the milestones, the signs of the planets were these wood things. I don't know if you were aware of it or not. You saw it, right? The problem with that is that in the next year, some of the signs went missing or something. And it was great to see during these years, they make the milestones and they make the solar system official, a trail official. And it was great to see this thing to grow, and also AstroCamp. So I came back next year as an alumni student, and then I came back other 2 years as a monitor. So yeah, I was a monitor from these guys, and then I was also a monitor in the first edition of the International AstroCamp. At that time, it was a little bit difficult because I didn't understood very well English, but it was great to develop my skills and to meet other people. And also I recommend to be a monitor in the future, also to know the other part of the AstroCamp. So if you have time and if you want, you can come back and be the monitor, only to have the other side of this camp. So about my background. When I finished my last year of high school, I was like I didn't know what to choose. I was like, I like math, I like physics, I like physics engineering. Then I applied for physics engineering at last minute. And I was like, okay, I will try this one. And if I don't like it in second year, I will change, because in my university, in the University of Aveiro, the first year was very similar between the 3 courses. So easily I could change between physics engineering, physics, or mathematics. But I did not change. It was a great experience for me. The physics engineering integrated master, I think not, actually integrated master does not exist anymore. Now you have to have 3 years and then 2 years for the master. in this case, we had 5 years altogether. So at the end of in the third year, I made like a project, a mini thesis, about the study of the rotation of odd superhertz. It was a more physics project, and it was very computational work. I did like to work on this, but I did not feel like it was very physics engineering at that time. And in my fourth year, I started a research grant towards the development of an optical emitter for LiDARs. LiDARs, I don't know, anyone of you know what is a LiDAR? It's a sensor that uses light to calculate the distance between a target and yourself. So it gives you a 3D scenario of its surrounding you, and it can be in that time would be to integrate in autonomous vehicles. Then in the fifth year, when I was doing the thesis, I continued this work. At the end, I could not do the final component, final LiDAR, but this is how research is. It takes time, and it is not developed yet, but it helped me to learn a lot about the research environment and how things goes and how to overcome like challenges and when things goes wrong, basically. And while I was my master, I also participated. I was not only studying, but also made part of some activities that if you go to the university, I also recommend to do it. I was like in the sports team of my course. In our university, we have like a sports competition between the courses. And we had a team of handball and futsal. And I am not good at all at sports, but they needed people to play. So I joined them. Of course, we didn't win, but it was very fun to take part of these things. I also was part of the Students' Association of our course. What we can do is like, it helps you to meet the other students that are in your course. It also helps you to gain some skills towards as you have to do like conferences, you do parties, you do like help the new students to integrate in your course and things like this. More things. This is an engineering contest. This is an engineering contest where we have like 24 hours to solve a problem. And it's also great. I don't know if you know EBEC. It's like this, that we have like the university level, the winners go to the national level, and the winners goes to the international level. And it's very fun for work on your teamwork skills and also to solve the problems with your friends. Basically, that is very fun, but it's also, I think that I slept over one day after this competition because it's like 24 hours working on the problem, and that's it. So at the end of the integrated master, I was again not sure what to do next. And that time, my supervisor came up with a topic for me to. She proposed if I wanted a research grant to work on that topic, and as I was not sure what to do, I was like, okay, I can do this, and meanwhile, I will be working for job opportunities, other things to do. But what happened is that here in Portugal, we have a call for PhD scholarships. We apply with a certain project, and then if you are selected, we can do a PhD, and it's funded for 4 years maximum. My supervisor at that time said, you can apply, and then if you win, you can decide if you want the PhD or if you want to go away, basically. And I was, okay, I will not waste more time in that. So I applied just for fun, just to see what would come next. And I was waiting for the results. I was working on the topic that my supervisor gave to me, and was also searching for other things to do. But the results came. I got one of the scholarships, And I was like, okay, I want to continue to work on this topic. And as I'm going to continue and will, I may get a degree from it. So I enroll in a PhD in that topic. That is multi-core fibers for high-capacity optical networks. I don't know if you know what are optical fibers. You know? Okay. Multi-core fibers are basically a special optical fiber. An optical fiber, a standard optical fiber, basically is a wire that is normally made of glass that has the thickness of our hair. It's very thin. I can show you later what is. And it can be used for optical communications and also for sensors. And later in this talk, I will show you how light transmits along optical fiber. Now, during the PhD, I am not working only in my thesis, but also having fun, obviously. I am now in the student association related to optics. And in this case, we do different activities. And this allowed me to meet other friends, other colleagues from my university that works in the same area. And with that, we also are making like collaborations between the groups. And for example, I'm working my PhD thesis, but sometimes I make collaborations with them and we can get together and combine our works and make papers and things like that. So as a PhD student, the activities that we make in this association is like, of course, the gatherings. We make the Christmas dinner. We have some gatherings where we play some games that I learned here in AstroCamp. We also go to elementary schools to show some things about optics. This was a conference that we organized this year. It was a conference that we should do in 2020 at that time, but COVID, we had postponed it. And we were very happy to be able to host this. It was an international conference, so we had a lot of people from Portugal and Spain, and it was very great to talk to them and to learn a little bit more what they work on, and also for networking, so we could make people meet each other, and possibly they will work together in the future. Organizing things like this are a little bit stressful at the time, but at the end we are very happy and feel like very fulfilled with the thing that came up, because it was like months to work on this type of activity. Also, as a PhD student, when in the first year of the PhD, at least in my university, I had to have courses and also to make a report about what already exists in the field and what I was planning to do in the next years as a PhD. We also have to defend it, and then the thesis starts after this first year. So then you are getting results, and then you will publish the results that we are getting just in journals or in conferences. So as I was starting to work during the pandemic, I only participated in virtual conferences. That is great because it's cheap. We pay a little bit only to present your work and to meet other people, but also it's bad because you don't have like the person-to-person interaction. But there is one virtual conference where they give to the winners of the best talks or the best abstracts the chance to go to that country and learn a little and visit a little the research centers from there. This was I was one of the winners and went to Ireland 2 weeks ago to know their research centers and to know the other winners of that conference. And it was really great. It was a really, the PhD is giving me some different experience. And so I think it's really the master and the PhD gave me some different experience because I was not only studying, only working on the thesis, but also having time for this type of things. And again, I was part of another sports team. I was not good at it again, but I needed people. In this case, it was the korfball team. I don't know if you know this sport. You know. You know, nice, nice. So in the University of Aveiro, it has cortical and they need people. So if you want to sign. So okay, after this small little, let's talk a little bit about optics. So let's go from the basics, okay? And it's the colors. Do you know what primary colors are? Do you know it? Yeah. What are the primary colors? Yeah. So there are two types of primary colors, okay? The subtractive and the additive primary colors. And these subtractive primary colors are the ones from the paints, the ones that you were saying, the yellow, magenta, and cyan. Cyan? Yeah. And there are the other primary colors, the additive colors, that are related to the light and the light that reaches to our eyes. And their primary colors are, do you know? Red, green, and they get white in the center. Huh? They get white in the center. Yeah, this is that one. And this makes the RGB model, the green, okay, the red, blue, and the RGB, red, green, and blue colors make altogether the white light. Good. So another thing that I want you to know in order to understand the propagation of light in the optical fiber is that light is a wave. Did you know? Light is an electromagnetic wave. And do you know the concept of wavelength? There is the distance between two identical points. And then about colors. The red color, okay, there is light that we can see, light that we cannot see, right? From the visible light, the red color is the one that has the longer wavelength. And then if we decrease the wavelength, we go to the violet color. Then if we continue to decrease, we don't see the light in this ultraviolet light and so on. And if we increase the wavelength from the red towards this region, we see we reach to the infrared light. So for optical communications with optical fibers, we use light in the range of 1000 nanometers, more precisely 1550 nanometers, because it's the wavelength that shows lower losses when we transmit light in an optical fiber. Another thing that we need to know to understand transmission of light in an optical fiber is refraction. Do you know what is refraction? Where it is? The refraction.
Changes wavelength and it goes from one medium to another.
Yes, right. When we see the bending of light when it comes from one media to another. I am just trying to find my, yeah, it's here. I think that, and it is according to this equation, okay? Do you know what is the refractive index of a material? Is
how much it refracts in each medium.
Yeah, mathematically, it's basically the coefficient between the velocity of light in the vacuum and the velocity of light in that material. And when the refractive index of the first material is higher than the second material, what happens to the refractive angle? Do you know? The refractive angle is higher or lower than the incidence angle? But we say, which one says higher and lower? So, okay. So if this is higher than this, right? And if you, how much has to be this to these two are equal? They have to exchange, right? If this is higher, these have to be higher than this. Okay, the refracted angle has to be higher than the incidence angle. Okay, so as we increase the incidence angle, the refracted angle will also increase, and we can reach to the point when the refracted angle will coincide with the interface between the two materials. Okay, in this case, when the refracted angle coincides with interface between the two materials, here, we call the incidence angle as the critical angle. In this case, if the incidence angle is higher than the critical angle, we don't see the refraction and we only see the reflection. Okay? And is in that the transmission in optical fiber works, is with total internal reflection or internal total reflection. So an optical fiber is this, is a glass, basically a very thin glass with two sections. The core, where the light is transmitted, then the cladding, and then we have just a coating to protect the fiber from breaking. And it doesn't play a role in the transmission. Then we have to have total internal reflection in order to the light transmit along the fiber without having losses. And as I said before, the refractive index of the core has to be higher in order to have a critical angle here where the light can be reflected back. Another thing is not only the refractive index, but also the acceptable angle. There is this one. So if you launch the light with an angle higher than the acceptable angle, it reaches the interface with an angle lower than the critical angle. So light will refract and escape, so we have a loss here, right? But if we inside the light within the acceptable angle, you reach the interface with an angle higher than this critical angle, and in that case, the refraction doesn't happen, but the reflection. So the light is transmitted in the optical fiber. So is this how it works? Basically, in a very basic concept, as for the light transmitting in the optical fiber. Now, how did you heard about optical fibers? Did you already? I heard about in the advertisement. Telecommunication companies are starting to put optical fibers in cities, so we have faster internet and better internet, basically. Also in data centers, where they have a lot of communications going on. And another thing that I was not aware about was the submarine cables. I don't know if you already heard about submarine cables. Good. I was not aware of that like 2 years ago. I did not know that existed like a whole industry in this area. I met a woman like last year that was working on the landing a submarine cable from Portugal to South America. That was, in this case, was Link. In this case, this submarine cable is very new. It was landed recently in this year, and it connects Portugal to South America and passes through Madeira. What is new about this is that we have GeoLab in this case, where they use the sensors. Sensors are something that all submarine cables have to have in order to know if everything is okay with them and the connections between continents are going well. And the sensors basically monitor like seismic activity, volcanic activity, marine activity. And in this case, GeoLab gives this data in order to the scientific community research about the Earth, basically. And now, do we have time for my work? So a little bit about why I'm working on multi-core fibers. So during the last years, the demand for data is increasing exponentially, and it is expected to continue to grow to the use of even more applications that requires high bandwidths. For example, Internet of Things, a new you heard about Internet of Things, IoT, where we have multiple devices exchanging data between them. So it requires a lot of capacity. Also now streaming with the high definition videos. Also, we need a lot of capacity to don't have like the lag part of the symbol of downloading always appearing. And one way to keep up with this demand is just by having more single mode fibers and with that more devices. What the problem with this is that we are increasing the capacity, is okay, but with that we also increasing the power consumption that we need and also the cost of the systems and also the space that we need for this type of systems. So, okay, we could do this, but it's not efficient. Because we can reach the point when we can't do this anymore. So it is because of that I'm doing multi-core fiber components, because this is a standard optical fiber, right? That has, okay. It's a standard optical fiber where just one core and the cladding. In the multi-core fiber, we have the same cladding, the same diameter, same space, but we have 4 cores so we have more 3 pathways to deliver even more. And we can turn out with multi-core fibers, we can enable component sharing, in which you can replace these 4 fibers by just one fiber with 4 cores that are sharing the same devices. So this could be more efficient in terms of power consumption and also in terms of space needed. My work is basically trying to develop some components to try to develop multi-core fiber optical amplifiers that are a very important device for any transmission system. If you want, for example, the continents to be linked to each other, we have to have optical amplifiers because the signals are going to be weak eventually, and they have to be amplified. So for a multi-core fiber system to exist or to be available, we have to also have efficient optical amplifiers. And so is that where I'm working on at this time. I hope that next year I have better results to show you about it, and that I have a final component fully developed. So, I forget. So that's it. Thank you. But I want to show you some things. But that's not. So this is an optical fiber. Okay, I will show you around. This is the connector. So it's very big. Okay. And this is the coating, the protection that they have to have because they are very fragile. So we have like, we will pass, okay, be careful just touching this because the fiber is so small that it's like a needle, okay? So we